All right, what is up, everybody? We are live. Wild race, wild finish at least. Oh, let me pull the mic up here. Wild finish at least to the Cookout 500 here at Darlington Raceway. Chase Briscoe leads the final 29 laps and takes the victory, locks himself into the playoffs, and that has ramifications as he bumps out Chris Buescher, Bubba Wallace, and Ross Chastain all looking to get in there. So huge playoff ramifications for the winner here. Second place man was also a story as Kyle Busch, with some strategy here late, took newer tires at least than Chase Briscoe, and was able to chase him down and make it very interesting at the end. In matter of fact, Kyle Busch's last four races here with RCR have been a 12th, a fourth, a second, and a second. So I would say without a doubt that 8 team and RCR as a whole have found something, didn't quite get the job finished out today. He will miss the playoffs, but as he's trending right now, looking like he's at least got a decent chance of getting that win and extending that win streak for having a win in each season. So Kyle Busch, also a story there. Christopher Bell, another solid run for him, finishing third in the Ream Toyota. He was able to lead one lap at some point in this race. But then the next man right here, Kyle Larson, if it wasn't for those cautions at the end, man, Kyle Larson looked like he had this thing under control. 263 laps led. He won both stages, which is 2 playoff points for winning the stages, but couldn't quite close out the deal and really needed one more position. We'll get to that in just a minute as we go down the list here. Ross Chastain, he threw the Hell Melon at it. He did everything he could, didn't have the car to get it done today, but he ends up finishing in 5th place. Unfortunately for him, Chase Briscoe won the race, and still would have been unfortunate because Chris Buescher finished in 6th place. Chris Buescher, another one on that playoff cut line that's affected by Chase Briscoe. He is out of the playoffs because of the Briscoe win as well. Denny Hamlin, he was doing strategy stuff all night, had a really, really fast race car. But the cautions at the end did not help him either. Joey Logano coming home in 8th. He had a nice solid night. He was up and down, but once he got into the top 10, he seemed to hang around there all night. So good finish for the 22 of Joey Logano. Corey LaJoy in the Chili's Ketcherita Chevrolet, finishing in 9th place here. A much-needed 9th place for Corey LaJoy, as he is just no other ways to put it. Since he's been announced that he's leaving that ride, he has been absolutely struggling. Just pushing too hard, but tonight gets the nice 9th place finish, and they definitely needed that. Tyler Reddick, 10th place, big 10th place finish for the Upper Deck Toyota that had Michael Jordan's card on the hood, because that locks him up the regular season championship by 1 point over Kyle Larson. Also credit those stage 1, he finished 4th, and stage 2, he finished 8th. So those bonus points for finishing in the stage there also helping him lock that up. Chase Elliott really did not have a good run today, but he ends up finishing 12th. And let's just run down the rest of the list here. Good run for Ryan Preece, 12th. Cindric, 13th. Brad Keselowski, 14th. Austin Dillon, 15th. They lost that lug nut there at one point in the race, and that really just put his race off. He was running around 15th or so when that happened, but the lug nut rolled away. They had to pull one out of the pouch there, and that sort of cost him his day. So he was up and down from that. Bubba Wallace, U.S. Air Force Toyota. He had a good car today. No telling what would have happened if not for the cautions, and then he gets caught up in one of those cautions. So that ruined his day. He does recover to 16th, but too little, too late because Chase Briscoe wins the race. So I don't know if the points racing or anything like that really would have mattered. He was able to lead 37 laps early in this race, so the car had plenty of speed. Finished 2nd in the first stage and 9th in the second stage, so he was doing everything he could do points-wise. Like I said, with Chase Briscoe winning the race, kind of really didn't matter. Pickle Todd Gilliland in the Long John Silver's Ford today. He ends up finishing 17th. Daniel Suarez, 18th. Alex Bowman, 19th. Ty Gibbs. Some nervous moments there as he was involved in the same caution as Bubba Wallace, finishes in 20th. He is in the playoffs. Harrison Burton, 21st. So he backs up the Daytona win with a 21st. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 22nd. Zane Smith, 23rd. Eric Jones, 24th. John Hunter Nemechek, Shane Van Gisbergen, Justin Haley, Michael McDowell, Daniel Hemrick, William Byron, Josh Berry, Noah Gregson, Carson Hocevar, Kaz Gralla, Timmy Hill, Martin Truex Jr. and Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney finishing last here, so Martin Truex Jr. Awarded one position ahead of Ryan Blaney there. Of course, that Martin Truex Jr. wreck at the very beginning of the race where he called himself an idiot. At one point, he was out of the playoffs as things stood when Bubba Wallace was leading the race. But as it all shakes out, Martin Truex Jr. locks into the playoffs as well. And we're waiting on the official points update from J-Ski, but we basically already know who's in and out, barring somebody getting thrown out. Anyway, so and with that being said, I've talked about all the people who are out, but the people that are sort of on the cut line, I left Martin Truex Jr. out of this because I think these are more interesting picks. But on the cut line, as it stands, going into the first round, it's going to be the HB21, Disco Briscoe, Daniel Suarez, Austin Cindric, and Martin Truex Jr., but like I said, left him off the list because I think it makes it more interesting this way. Who of these drivers is going to advance or has the best chance to make it out of the first round? 67% saying Disco Briscoe over Suarez, Cindric, and Harrison Burton 21. 31 votes in so far. Let's see how that ends up, and I'll jump into the comments and see what you guys want to talk about. Heck of a battle between Briscoe and Busch. I agree. Kyle Busch didn't have the raw speed, but he had the newer tires there, and he was taking advantage of them. He took it to Briscoe, and Briscoe, for the most part, held serve. So a good race at the end there. Hate it for everyone's favorite. They had a New Jersey neighbor, Martin Truex Jr. Yep, he threw his race away pretty early, and luckily for him, had enough of a cushion to still get into the playoffs. I wonder when Larson asked, how desperate is the 14 and others around me? Did he back off, says Duke Chronic. That's a good question. I don't know if he had enough room to back off there. So I don't know if he actually backed off or not. I think he was just, I think they were just letting him know that the 14 is desperate. Chastain with a nice Darlington Busch throwback. Yeah, Ross Chastain's car looked really good. And I think he did as much with it as he could. What's up, Duke Chronic? If KFB puts him in the number 3, stays, put him in the number 3, says Duke Chronic. A lot of people have called for that, but the Earnhardt family doesn't want that to happen. So I don't think that's going to happen. KFB says Beast. Yeah, KFB, he drove a heck of a race. I knew that when Host of Our Spin was going to cause all that chaos, says OJ. Indeed. Santa was at the race, says in between the lanes. So early Christmas present for a few drivers. This is the first playoff. KB is not in, says Duke Chronic. SHR finally wins one, and I'm happy, says John Forrester. Yep, Disco Briscoe got you one done for sure. That ending made that race. I was happy for Briscoe, says Diane. Yeah, I agree. I think and a lot, you see a lot of Darlington races sort of end this way. It's sort of cut and dry for a lot of Darlington races at the end, but then for whatever reason, off strategy or new tires, just whatever goes on at the end, the ending of these races always seem to go really well. But for the first, or not even the first, but for 263 laps of this race, it was definitely a clinic from Kyle Larson. But that late caution sealed his fate. So it doesn't matter if you lead all the middle laps, you got to lead the last lap. Reddick, regular season champion, in between the lanes, says for sure by 1 point. So good on him. And that's a big win also for 23XI, a fairly new team, and they've already got a regular season championship for Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin, and the gang. Love the broadcast, and LaJoy didn't wreck, says Resurrect. I'm going to go with. I'm just going to call you Z. Larson, Reddick, Elliott Bell, Championship 4. Says Logan England. That could be a pretty good pick. Reddick for sure. Larson for sure. Chase Elliott hasn't missed a beat, and Christopher Bell, I like him too. I think some Denny Hamlin fans and other guys might disagree with you, but I like your Final Four. I can't find any fault with it. Diffie called Darlington Martinsville, says in between the lanes. Yeah, there was some interesting calls. I'll leave that to you guys throughout this whole race, but there was some interesting stuff said for sure. Let's see. BB, will the Final Four be the 21, the 2, the 99, and the 14? Maybe on Earth 2, OJ. We'll take it back to the old school, the beginning of Earth 2. Maybe on Earth 2, OJ. SHR was strong, says John Forrester. They definitely had strong cars. Josh Berry had a good car too. He made a really aggressive move going 3 wide there, but Josh Berry's car looked like it had some speed in it too. Austin Dillon was top 10 at one point, probably due to strategy, says in between lanes. He was definitely top 10 before the at one point before the lug nut stuff was happening. So yeah, he had some pretty good strategy going on, but the lug nut, the 14-second pit stop definitely cost him. Diffy Duck says William Wagaman. That Chili's car is cool looking. Bye bye Blaney. Didn't have to hear him scream on the radio and cry, says Z. Atlanta is going to be a very crazy race, says OJ and Toothpaste. Yeah, without a doubt. No clue. No clue. Chase Elliott how Chase Elliott finished in 11th, says Joseph Wooten. He got back on the lead lap, and just the way it cycled out. Nice regular season send off for SHR. Glad to see Briscoe get the win. BB must be happy with IndyCar since Scott's got a 1-2 podium finish. No doubt about it. That's the way it should be. Seeing MJ show his passion for NASCAR, says Z. Yeah, that was cool. He's been a fan for a long time though. He goes back to like Cale Yarborough, so he's been longer than I've been on the planet. He's been a fan. Let's just go for it because I think it's in Phoenix, says John Forrester. Tony Stewart, the number 2 at U.S. Nationals, going into Monday. Chase made some wild move on their 5 and 1 going into turn 3. I thought we were going to have Bristol Dirt flashbacks, says OJ and Toothpaste. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't do anything insane because typically maybe he's growing as a driver because typically in these situations he does something wild, but he was able to keep it together in this one and show the talent that he has. 21 and 99 out before qualifying, says Z. Briscoe winning probably the last race for SHR in 14 is storybook, says Donnie S. Yeah, it is pretty cool that they do get a final win, even though it's going to be just Haas next year. They're not like totally going away, but it is cool that they get another win. The 5 asked how desperate are the guys around him. It was very smart, even though it cost him 15 points, says Duke Chronic. Yep. Indeed. Didn't see Larson's post-race interview. 14 ruined his night, says Z. I liked Martin Truex Jr.'s Patriotic Bass Pro Shops, which we saw run recently at Chicago. It was a good-looking car. Unfortunately, we only got to see it for like about a lap. I hope Kevin Harvick puts that on his podcast, says John Forrester. Just imagine if Dylan, I think Kevin Harvick's about to be a Toyota man, but we'll see. Just imagine if Dylan made the playoffs with the Richmond win, said Napa Racing Fan 927. My driver Blaney dead last, says Miguel. Yep, unfortunately, he was caught up in the Truex deal, and that's where they scored him. Reddick wasn't feeling great during that race. Yeah, Reddick was going through it, so big win for him to just stay out there. No doubt about it. I bet one of 4 drivers in your appeal make the round of 12 somehow, even with Burton. Even Burton with Atlanta, says NASCAR. Yeah, I think one of them will make it as well. No doubt about it. Is he actually crying, says John Forrester. He is actually crying, says John Forrester, talking about Chase Briscoe as he was crossing the winning start-finish line there to get the win. Tony is like Reddick, hold my beer as I poop my pants, says Z. LaJoy got 9th on a non-drafting track. Incredible, says Napa Race Fan. Yeah, so that's finally over with. We can stop talking about Corey LaJoy only having top 10s at plate tracks. Watkins Glen, says Z. Dillon had a nice scheme. Yeah, the Toys for Tot scheme for Austin Dillon, definitely a really good one. I appreciate that Briscoe cared more about winning the Southern 500 than a playoff spot, says Napa. Evening Bologna Burger, what a race again tonight. Definitely, it was definitely a really good race, especially the finish. Like just crazy that it ended up like that after one dude led 263 laps. If anyone wants to gift me an item with Ross's auto, it'll make me feel better. Autograph is what he means there, says Quattro. Quattro going through it right now. If you were in the Discord, it just wasn't his day. Wasn't Ross's day, and just a bummer for all the Ross fans and all the other, all the other fans also who didn't make it. The Bubba fans and the Chris Buescher RFK fans. Definitely a bummer day for all of them. All 4 HMS cars made it in this year. I think JGR made it too, says Duke Chronic. All 5 JGR drivers made the playoffs, including Briscoe, says Napa Racing Fans. So that's a cool way to look at it. It's cool you do this after the rush of a race. We all want more. Thank you, says Z. Yeah, no problem, my friend. I do the best I can. BB, good to see you on here as well, Diane. BB with Harrison Burton's performance today. today's show you he can be a threat for the championship this year. Hey, on him. I'm hoping he completely blows up the playoffs. So I'm not going to sleep on him. Briscoe, all he needs is one good. All he needs is what? One, two, three, 4 wins. He can finish dead last and get 4 wins at the right time, and he can win the championship, right? Or if he just is really consistent and gets 1 win at Phoenix. Bob Pockers tweeted. Bob Pockers posts win the night. He said Tyler Reddick reports he's throwing up and crapping himself. Says Diane. Indeed, indeed. I did see that tweet. I wasn't on Twitter too much. I was mainly on Discord, but I did see that tweet. So that one made its rounds, no doubt about it. You think Chris Buescher is still mad at Tyler Reddick? Oh, after tonight, for sure, for sure. If you're Chris Buescher, I don't think he'll actually do anything. I've seen a few people suggest that he might ruin Tyler Reddick's playoffs. I don't think he'll go that far, but he's definitely still mad at him. LOL Napa says Duke Chronic. Speedy Gonzalez, more like Speedy Suarez, all the way to the championship race. So there you go. Quattro has recovered, and he is going to roll with Trackhouse teammate Suarez to hopefully hold the banner there for Trackhouse in the playoffs. Escobar says, if it could be a coincidence, but ever since Ross had the crash with Larson last year, the whole Trackhouse team hasn't been the same. Yeah, they've lost a little bit of momentum, but that's I don't know. You can get hot at the right time too. I mean, technically, if RCR had made the playoffs, if you look at, like I said, Kyle Busch's last 4 starts, he's had a 12th, a 4th, a 2nd, and a 2nd. So if they were in the playoffs, and let's just say let's just ignore that, but somebody in the playoffs has a similar run as to what Kyle Busch has just had right now, like you just got to get hot at the right time. You saw that with Joey Logano in his first championship, without a doubt. Let's see here. Where was I at? Let's just celebrate. It didn't come down to a bunch of green-white checkers. Happy for the Stuart Haas finally getting a win, says JW89. Yeah, at least it didn't go into overtime. We did get a lot of cautions at the end, but at least it didn't go into overtime. So let's celebrate that for sure. He has all, I think it's a popular win too. Like SHR gets a win going out. He has all SHR behind him, says Duke Chronic, for sure. For sure. They're going to make it I think they'll make a pretty positive effort on Briscoe there. To make him do as good as he can do in this playoffs. I never thought I'd see Truex do something that dumb on lap 2, says Napa Racing Fan. I don't think Truex thought he would do anything like that either, but it just shows you how much pressure is on these guys. Z saying, do you think Busch Beer jumped the gun on Chastain sponsorship? 2024 has been less than stellar. I don't know about all that. I think they'll be all right. Briscoe beat Larson in a fair one. KFB second 2 weeks in a row, says AMB. Hopefully, BB and I can help Briscoe in November before he steps into the 19 full-time in 2025, for sure. Did you just say something about Harvick going to Toyota? You misheard that like this, like, obviously. I would never say something like that. I wouldn't want people to tell me to take the video down or anything. Let's see. Quattro gifting a membership. Appreciate you there, Quattro. Big fist bump for you. Let's see. Rolling with any Hendrick driver for the championship for 2024, says James. I mean, Hendrick's got a pretty good shot. I still think the favorites have to come from Hendrick and JGR, but we'll have to see what happens with it going forward. Finally, a big long time with SHR drivers. I'll be divided. Thank you, says John Forrester. Just keep pulling for all of them. I think it'll be good. Reddick winning regular season by 1 point is incredible. Don't love that. Bianchi will be up how Larson should have ran the 600 over Indy on the teardown, though. I mean, you can pinpoint it to that, but you can also pinpoint it to he shouldn't have wrecked at Charlotte, or any amount of races he shouldn't have wrecked at. Like, whatever. I mean, you can nitpick it all you want to, but at the end of the day, Tyler Reddick did what he had to do to win the race. I mean, to win the championship. It's a nothing burger to me. It is what it is. The crown jewel. And when you get a chance to race the Indy 500, you race the Indy 500. So if Jordan Bianchi doesn't understand that, he doesn't really understand racing. So that's just all there is to it. Let's see. The crown jewel win should be the most talked about topic, but it's being overshadowed by the playoffs. Winning you're in. Nonsense, says Chrome Diesel. Yeah, there's a little bit of that. It'll be more talked about next year because it'll be back to where it's normally at, the first round of that first the first race of the first round is what I was trying to get out there. Andy Petrie's exit shows results for KB. I mean, yeah, you gotta definitely point to that and see that they have had results since Andy Petrie left. no doubt about it. It was cool seeing all those fans waving flags during restarts. Good job, NASCAR Nation, says Z. Can afford sneak in and win Phoenix. Oh yeah, for sure, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Can you the last 2 years they have, right? Well, they didn't win. Ross Chastain won last year, but Ryan Blaney did what he had to do to win. Did enough to win, finishing second. Reddick with the upper deck scheme, hopefully a potential diecast. Looked great on TV. Says Z. I'm kind of glad RCR missed the playoffs for yelling at Parker Retzlaff for racing at Daytona last week. I mean, was it RCR that yelled at him, or was it his spotter? Was it Chevrolet? They keep saying somebody yelled at him, but they will not actually quote anybody. And so it's all secondhand. So that probably the most overblown thing of all time. Kyle Busch had the best response to it, though, Napa, when he said they don't invite Beard Motor Oil to the preferred partners strategy meeting for Chevrolet. So I didn't expect him to work with me. And that is the absolute best response. So if Chevrolet and them want to get mad at Beard Oil for not following orders, how about invite them and treat them like all the rest of the Chevrolet teams? Invite them to the strategy meetings, help them out more than like you don't have to give them like if they you don't have to make them a tier one team, but you can help them out. It's only going to help you out in the long run. So I'm glad that these teams that don't get invited to things like that. Front Row is another one that used to not get invited to these things. They'll be a tier one team next year, but I'm glad that stuff is sort of blowing up in the manufacturer's face this year. So if you want them to be a Ford team, if you want them to be a Chevrolet team, invite them into the strategy meetings. Like stop playing those games, and then complaining when they don't do what you tell them to do. With the next race being Atlanta, what lap do you think Larson will wreck in? He will never not wreck at a plate type track, says Escobar. I mean, yeah, if he finishes a plate race, that would be great at some point, especially at Daytona. It's 1 point that Reddick got it by. If Reddick finished 11th or 12th tonight, it would have been Larson's by 1 for sure. Like because the tiebreaker would go to Larson because he has the most wins over Reddick. He just isn't good at pack racing, says Escobar. 8 car going to win Atlanta. Says Bumblebee, could happen. No overtime, natural finish is a win in my opinion, says AM. I agree. I believe it was RCR or Chevy, says Napa Racing Fan. That's what I'm saying. They won't actually say who said it. So that's what I'm saying. It's just one of those things. All I know for sure is his spotter said it to him. Now, who said it to his spotter? That's anybody's guess. KFB did respond well, or was his spotter just basically inferring that they weren't going to be happy? But let's not let the truth get in the way of a good story. I believe it was RCR or Chevy. Says Napa Race Fan. KFB did respond well to that nonsense. Retzlaff's rear gear broke on the start yesterday. To quote Dale Gribble, government did it. Says Bumblebee. Yeah. I mean, you can go full rabbit hole on it, no doubt about it. 100% agree on the kid last week. I go for the win. Says Z. Yeah. How can you hate on Parker Retzlaff? Like that's interesting. And I don't think that RCR is like, I don't know. It seems like an overblown story to me. It's just one of those things that it got a lot of steam on Twitter. I think it was a combo of RCR and Chevy. Was in the wrong regarding Retzlaff. LOL, you missed my comment above. Sorry about that, Bruce. But I read that one. So you probably should have put your comment right here where you put this one. So I could have read it. Anyway, do you think Edsel Ford was happy for Chase Briscoe or still mad about the Toyota thing? Says OJ. I mean, it's hard to say. That's what I'm saying. Like it's funny that Chase Briscoe. I'm glad you brought that up since we're on that topic anyway. Yeah, so Ford was mad at him for wearing a Toyota shirt when he was being announced as a Toyota driver. So and he wins you a race for Ford. So is Ford going to celebrate his win because he wore a Toyota shirt one time? The manufacturer stuff's going crazy right now. Anyway, HB wins Atlanta and makes it to the next round, says Casey Woodside. That would be crazy. It would be cool if it happened. Z saying, be real, RCR has sucked for 20 years. Shame on Botox Richard for blaming the kid for millions of dollars. Hire a driver, not your grandsons, says Z. I don't know about 20 years. Kevin Harvick finished second in points a lot of times. So I don't know. Ryan Newman finished second or third in points. So I don't know. Like this idea that RCR has sucked for 20 years, that's pushing it just a little bit. But they have had years where they're down and they have had years where they're up. I think that's a fair thing to say. How would Dale Sr. feel about the playoffs? Probably wouldn't like them. I feel like most of the older drivers don't really like the playoffs. I feel like most normal people don't like this particular configuration of the playoffs. Let's see, percentage on colleague and RCR combining resources for next year. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. There could still be a situation where Trackhouse helps them out. So yeah, but I think RCR and colleague will definitely be working pretty closely together next season, without a question. I would say probably 95%. I'm feeling like 95% RCR and colleague getting a tighter alliance. Good race. Glad the 14 and the SHOR got the win. Especially the Southern 500. Sucks though how their season is going to end. Says Bruce Reed. Yep. Unfortunately, they're shutting down except for one car, and it'll just be Haas. What big name driver gets eliminated in the round of 16? I'm rooting for Chaos. The next 10 races, says Kendall Morton. Let's see. This is not going to be popular, but I think Martin Truex Jr. is going to miss. If he doesn't, I could see a situation with Denny Hamlin's bad luck here recently. I could see a situation where Denny Hamlin misses because if you look at Denny Hamlin's recent luck, except for like he had, I guess a decent finish this race, but before this, he's had a string of bad luck, and it's just been really bad luck. So I could see somebody like Denny Hamlin missing too. I'm just going off momentum. So those would be the two. Those would be the two off the top of my head that I could think of. Uh, Kyle Larson, if he wrecks a car at the wrong moment, I could see him going out because he's been sort of a win or wreck this year. Yeah, there's a handful of them. There's a handful of them I could see. Where is all this speed coming from for RCR as of late? Says Casey Woodside. They put their heads down during the Olympic break and they found something, no doubt about it. I hope Ty Gibbs gets his first win in the playoffs. Says OJ and Toothpaste, or maybe it was when they switched around the management with Andy Petrie leaving. I mean, you never can tell. I hope Ty Gibbs gets his first win in the playoffs. That would be pretty cool. I feel like Ty Gibbs' first win is coming. Same thing with Carson Hocevar. I feel like both of those guys are right on the cusp of that first win. I agree, says Casey Woodside. This version of the playoffs is better than the original playoff format. That's not saying much, though, says Napa Racing Fan. That Chastain Darlington throwback from tonight is available for pre-order. Yeah, I think it's a good-looking car. I think that one will actually get produced. Did future Toyota teammates send Briscoe the setup? Says Rick Lane. Maybe. Agree on Denny, but I'd love to see Truex get hot, says Z. Yeah, I think both of them will make it, but I'm just saying I could see a situation where both of them don't make it. Do you think Kyle would have moved him had he gotten there? Says M43. That's hard to say, man. I don't know. He's done it to Ron Hornaday before. That's going to be the comeback to this. But he actually typically drives pretty clean, so I don't think he would have. I think he would have drove him really hard. I don't think he would have. He might have got into him at some point, but I don't think he would have like intentionally moved him out of the way and wrecked him. He might overshoot him and get into him that way, but I don't think he like intentionally would have wrecked him or anything like that. Sounds solid to me as well. Dylan, Kyle Busch, Allmendinger, Ty Dillon, or Hemrick in the 31 for Cup, Love, Austin Hill, Dye, Williams, Eckes, and Xfinity. Uh, yeah, I think of that lineup, if I was going to put anybody in Cup, I would put Austin Hill. I know Ty Dillon's name's been tied to the 31 a lot as well. But I think Austin Hill in the 31, him and Ty Dillon splitting time in the 31 is kind of how I think next season is going to go. That's just my prediction. I don't have, nobody's told me anything. I just think the 31 is probably going to split time between Austin Hill and probably Ty Dillon. That's just a guess. I don't know. We'll have to see what actually happens though. Ty Gibbs is ready to break through. Break through big time. He is maturing and has super resources behind him for sure. Truex for the championship, says Mark Langren. Yeah, that would be cool if Truex got the championship on his way out. I missed the quad oval Atlanta. I liked it better than Atlanta Super Speedway, says Napa Racing Fan. I think a lot of people miss it. After watching Brock Beard, Chrome Diesel says, after watching Brock Beard's video, I had enough of the playoffs. I just want something to happen that will cause NASCAR to change this format. Anything short of a Harrison Burton championship. And I think we're stuck with this format for a little while. They might make a tweak to how you qualify for it to get into the playoffs, but I don't think they'll change significantly any portion of the playoffs. Bad night for Hocevar, says Z. Yeah, it wasn't his greatest effort. 3 wide finish in Atlanta. Luckily for him, Josh Berry also wrecked, so he probably is still leading the Rookie of the Year. 3 wide finish in Atlanta this year was incredible. Good old fashioned Atlanta. Had many great finishes too. Yeah, Michigan's had some good finishes too. Like back in the day, all those tracks. Richmond, Richmond's another one that had some good finishes. Now they're down to one race. So yeah, older tracks. Then they changed them and they don't race as good. Bristol comes to mind as well. Any other schemes you like tonight? Toys for Tots. I liked Truex's. We talked about Ross Chastain's. I like that one. The Chili's car for Corey LaJoy. He got a ninth in it. That helps too. So I think we covered. I think we covered all of those. I didn't like Tyler Reddick's. I really wanted to like it, but I just did not like Tyler Reddick's. Like that's the one I didn't like, but I really wanted to like it. But he won the regular season championship in it. So to him, I'm sure it's like the most beautiful paint scheme of all time. So it's all in the eye of the beholder. All the colors on his really worked. I just didn't like the way it looked. But it's, it is what it is. I've liked cars that are absolutely butt ugly, and people were like, "That's butt ugly," and I'm like, "I don't know. I like that one." So it's all subjective. Burton winning Daytona was cool. Driver 34th in points. Uh, Dead last. A full time driver is running for a title is not, says Napa Racing Fan. Hell, Giants won a Super Bowl as a wild card, 4 games to a title. I'm good with the playoffs. Makes it fun, says Z. There is the merch store. So if you want to visit the merch store, buy a hat, get a free t-shirt, just put them in the cart. The t-shirt will be free. 31 is a guess right now. 7 is a guess. 15 Grala, 51 LaJoy Burton. We still have a lot of silly season to figure out, says James. Yeah, I agree with you. It's just a toss-up between those for sure. I would say probably LaJoy has to be the leading candidate for the 51, but I don't think anything's even close to being figured out. If you want to join the Discord, there's the Discord link. Wise Guy has dropped that as well. I know this is almost like a Blaney scheme, but that doesn't change. But I like this Menard scheme. Yeah, I like all pretty much even Brandon Jones. Like I've always been a big even when the Menards schemes were orange when Martin Truex Jr. was running them in the Busch Series. Menards bright colors. I just like them. I've always liked them. Who remembers the orange 81 Menards car in the Busch Series? That was Truex there, I think. I'd be more okay with the playoffs if the championship didn't come down to one race. Yeah, that's a big part of it too for a lot of people. I was screaming for the 8 to win, says one wise guy. I think a lot of people were. Kyle Busch, so close once again. So we'll see who wins first. Sheldon, maybe that should have been the poll question. Who wins first, Kyle Busch or Sheldon Creed? Maybe I'll make that the poll question on the next one. But looks like we've reached the end of the chat on this one. So I'm going to check out and go to sleep because I am exhausted after Tri County and watching this race. Amazed that I made it to the end of this one with my eyes still open. But I appreciate you guys. It's always fun hanging out. Final poll question: Disco Briscoe, 52% is who you guys think has the best chance to make it out of the first round. Second best is going to be Harrison Burton at 18%, 14% for Suarez and Cindric apiece. So by far, Disco Briscoe, you guys think is going to make it out of the first round. All right. Until next time, peace.